Hey guys, Foxdrop here. Today I've got a video telling you how to get out of bronze and into silver. This is going to be part of a new series where I'm going to be talking about each of the ELO brackets and telling you very specifically how to climb from your current ELO bracket into the one above it. Today obviously we're starting from bronze to silver. We may as well start somewhere, and the beginning is a pretty good place to start. And obviously by nature these kind of videos are going to be quite theoretical. However, I'm also going to be going into some decent amount of detail, so you should come out of this video knowing not only what it is you need to do to improve, but also how to do it, very specifically how to do it to fix these mistakes. But I'll also be giving you some kind of quick fixes as well, stuff that you can be doing right now to be seeing immediate benefit. Obviously, if you want to improve as a player, you're going to want to focus on those long-term stuff, right, to really get better. Quick fixes don't really fix anything. It's kind of like saying, you don't like looking so scrawny, right? So I could tell you, you should go to the gym. Maybe you should eat a bit more, put some more protein in your diet. Maybe buy some weights and just work out a little bit in the queue times you have in between league games. That would be a way to improve your scrawny look, by making you less scrawny. Or I could tell you to wear some long sleeve shirts like I'm doing today. And that's a way that you can get rid of your scrawny look, or at least kind of make it a bit better by, hiding the scrawny look. It's a quick fix, but it doesn't really fix it. So yes, that's the very accurate comparison we're going to be drawing for this video. Do let me know, by the way, guys, if you do like this kind of video. Let me know down below in the comments what you found useful, what you didn't find useful. Give me a thumbs up if I did a good job. Anyway, moving on to the video. So we may as well start this video by talking about the problems that bronze ELO has, or the stuff that you do that is not helping you and is what's keeping you in bronze. Now, because it's bronze, which is the lowest tier of competition, there are going to be a lot of mistakes. And I don't just want to sound like I'm ragging on you guys, but let's list off the mistakes that you make, and there are a lot of them, so I'm probably just going to read it off my list. So your mechanics is like the first one. I'm going to split this into three categories because there are a lot of mistakes. The first category, mechanics. CSing is awful in lower leagues. You can't trade while CSing either. Can't utilize champions effectively. Like, you might know what your champion does, but you don't necessarily know its strengths and weaknesses, or if you do know the strengths and weaknesses, you don't really play around those things. Skill shots, you can't land them, you can't dodge them, that kind of stuff. Outside of your mechanics, you have your decision making as well, which is generally leaves a lot to be desired too. It all just boils down to the fact that in this league, people just don't know how to play League of Legends. They're just not really sure what they're meant to be doing at any given time. They don't really know when to roam or when to stay in lane, don't know when to play for objectives, when to push lanes down, how to control minion waves, item builds, runes, masteries, that kind of stuff, no idea either. How to end a game, how to finish a game out, and how to snowball, but also how to stall a game out and how to stop a snowball as well. They don't know when to gank as a jungler and when not to gank, etc. The last category here is your attitude. Now, this is quite a big one in bronze. In bronze, you get the most portion of players that just blame everyone else and who deflect blame. There are so many people who just think that their team is the one holding them back, which is just totally not the case. They'll never take blame for their own mistakes. They'll overemphasize allies' mistakes. They'll put too much focus on things like first blood, on champion picks. Basically, they just give up quite easily and don't really have the right mindset to improve. So that pretty much sums up all the mistakes that bronze players make. You may feel a bit overwhelmed listening to that, and don't worry, that wasn't like the meat of the video. I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of stuff you need to improve on. However, in order to get into silver, you don't need to focus on loads of these things. Like, if you fixed everything that I just mentioned, you'd be a challenger player. Let's just tone it down a little bit. We'll start with baby steps. We'll start with getting you into silver. Silver still has a lot of these mistakes. Don't worry, you're not going to have to tackle everything all at once. So let's now talk about the stuff that you can be doing specifically, what you need to fix, the most important stuff you need to fix in order to climb. The first and most important thing you need to be fixing is your CSing. CSing, getting minions, is very, very, very important in just being useful. Like, honestly, CSing is just like the bare bones of everything that you want to do. It's the foundation of the entire game. If you can't CS, then you're just not going to be able to do anything. Like, one kill, a champion kill, is worth roughly 15 CS. So your CSing probably sucks. And how do you get better at CSing? Well, it's going to sound kind of boring, but go into custom games against bots and just practice last hitting until you can get at least 5 minions every 6 waves. Honestly, you shouldn't miss a single one unless something funky happens. Bottom line is, just play custom games against bots until you know you can last hit really confidently. Once you feel confident in those bot games, go into the real games and just focus on that CSing. Generally speaking, a good guideline for your CSing would be 80 CS at 10 minutes is really good. Like, honestly, you can't question that. 70 CS at 10 minutes is decent, and especially if other stuff has gone on. Till you've got your CSing down, just don't worry about the enemy laner at all. Well, unless he starts hitting you, then you should run away. But once you do have that CSing down, you can start harassing, you can start trading into the enemy laner. This is kind of tricky to like do both these things at once, like to juggle CSing and harassing. You always want to prioritize CSing, but a good way to be a really strong laner is to look at your own minions' health, and when they get kind of low, that's when the enemy laner is going to try and last hit that minion, and at that point you can get a trade in. It sounds really simple, but honestly that's all you need to do. Just nail down your CSing and then harass when the enemy laner is going to CS your minions. If you can do that properly, honestly, you're going to be a better laner than like 99% of the people in bronze. A little point as well is to not let the enemy laner just mindlessly push into you, because if you're stuck under your tower, it's going to be really hard for you to CS. So moving on from your mechanics and talking about decision making, honestly, you don't really need to worry too much about decision making to get from bronze to silver. Like, decision making levels are honestly quite similar between those two tiers. Like, at least for laners, there's not really too much you need to worry about, except for one thing in my opinion, which is to not just mindlessly group up. What tends to happen in the lower leagues is that people just mindlessly group up if like a tower dies or something, and then everyone ends up just like an arum at like 10 minutes. These are not things that you want to be a part of, because this whole time you're not getting fed, you're not getting CS, you're not able to do anything. The only reason you want to group up with your team at these points is if you think that by being there you will win a team fight, and if you're not there, your teammates will just die. Now, there is no point just grouping up for the sake of it. If you think your presence there isn't even going to make you win that team fight, then what's the point? Like, even if you're 5v5, you won't win. So what's the point? You may as well just leave it 4v5 and then go in a side lane, push a tower down and get yourself fed at the same time. However, for junglers, there are more things you need to worry about as far as your decision making goes, because pretty much the whole role is about decision making. First thing is you want to farm your jungle more. A lot of people in low elo don't put enough emphasis on killing those jungle monsters, killing those jungle camps. You want to do that, you need to do that to keep up in experience and in gold. Second thing for junglers is to not gank lanes that are losing really hard. There tends to be an emphasis on helping lanes that are not doing so well, trying to right the ship too much. Instead, help laners that aren't doing so poorly and help them to snowball. But just don't try and save lanes that are just way beyond saving. And the last thing as well about junglers, don't gank lanes when there are loads of minions knocking about. Two reasons for this. First reason is that you're kind of denying your laner all those minions. That's a lot of CS and experience there, and you're going to kind of disrupt that, makes it a bit awkward. Secondly, if you fight in all those minions are going to absolutely destroy you. Minions do so much damage in the early game that if you try and fight around them, it's basically like a second player being there, but a second player that you can't kill. Similar as well, if you're playing support, you want to kind of dictate how the lane's going, and part of that involves choosing when to fight and not, and don't fight when there are loads of minions for the same reasons. Also, always focus the AD carry first, unless you think you can get a nice cheeky trade without dedicating onto the support, or you can blow the support up. And also, you don't necessarily need to just go balls deep, all in when you're going for a trade. A lot of champions are front loaded in their damage, so what will happen is you jump in, you'll do a lot of damage, you're thinking, holy crap, we're winning this, let's keep going, let's fight them. And then actually you don't really have much damage left over, and then it's just like an awkward chase, and meanwhile they trade back into you and you actually take more damage than you would have done if you just ran away in the beginning. So you can go in, you can get a good trade off on them, but you don't have to dedicate. For your attitude though, this is a massive one for bronze. The important thing that I want you to take away from this video is just to accept the following as a fact. You don't have to believe it, but just accept it as a fact. Anything negative that you attribute to your teammates, you have to attribute to your enemies as well. After all, your allies and your enemies and you're all the same rating. You're all technically the same skill level. So if your allies are the ones that are always being caught out, if your allies are the ones that suck, if your allies can't CS, then the enemies are always going to be getting caught out. Your enemies are always going to suck. Your enemies can't CS. I'm sorry, but there is just no such thing as like perpetual unluckiness where you're always with the allies that suck and the enemies are the ones that are doing well. If that is the case, then actually it's not really your allies and the enemies, it's more about you. You're not able to exploit the enemy's weaknesses, and you're not able to be a good enough teammate to kind of protect your allies. On top of that as well, you shouldn't be afraid to lose games. It's okay to lose games legit. Like, losing games is perfectly normal. It happens. Like, you can have a 55% win ratio and still climb, but that would mean like losing 45 games over 100. That's quite a lot of losses, but that's still a good win rate. The only thing caring about losing does is it ruins your future games. Like, I'm sure everyone here watching this video, myself included, have been too hung up on a previous loss that has actually caused them to lose a game down the line that they should have won. Last thing I say as well is that there's no such thing as a free win champion. Like if the enemy has picked something you don't like playing against, well, it's tough luck, but you can still beat it. So those were the theoretical things about climbing from bronze to silver. If you work on all those things, you'll become a better player and overall you will climb. But what are some quick fixes that you can be doing right now to be improving yourself, your performance in that bronze league? Well, firstly is your champion pool. You want to be picking champions that can do some of or most of the following. Either they can stomp the lane, they can destroy team fights, they can start team fights, they can catch people out, they don't rely on teammates, and they're really easy to play with like simple mechanics. So let me read you the list of champions that I've written down as who are good choices to be picking for each role. For the top lane, good champions would be people like Pantheon, Olaf, Darius, Alawi, Malphite, Sion, Trundle, Wukong, Vladimir, Swain, Malzahar, and Tryndamere. Jungle, pick people like Amumu, Volibear, Hecarim, Sejuani, Skarner, Zac, Udyr, Wukong. If you want more information, you can go watch my top 5 junglers for low elo video. Mid lane, go for someone like Annie, Cho'Gath, Karma, Veigar, Vlad, Swain, Malzahar. You can see there's a bit of an overlap here between top and mid. AD carry, Ashe, Caitlyn, Ezreal, Jinx, MF, Tristana, and kind of Vayne, as long as you don't have a really big ego and try to make too many plays. For your support, Leona, Braum, Nautilus, Annie, Brand, Zyra, Morgana, and Blitzcrank. All these champions that I'm listing, these are all champions that kind of fill the criteria I talked about in the beginning. They're really easy to play and they can just do stuff by themselves. They can set up team fights, they can catch people off. Like all the support champions that I listed there are people that can start a fight, people that can pick people out, or they're those kind of like mage AP champions that are easy to play, but also you may as well just be picking another mid laner, right? Like Zyra, you know, Annie, Brand. These champions just have so much bloody damage that they are like a second mid laner. You can play stuff other than the ones I just listed as well, of course. It's just these are the ones I would suggest as will help you the most to immediately climb. Like if you're picking Zed as your mid laner and you change to Annie, I'm pretty sure you would easily get more LP just by doing that one change. Another quick fix is that your runes, items, masteries, these are always up in the air when it comes to bronze. Just go to probuilds.net. This isn't a sponsor, it's just the one I use. Type in the champion that you want to play and then you can see a list of pro players who have played that champion, and then look at that list and see what items they're building, see what rune page they've run, see what masteries they've run, and just copy it. Last quick fix here as well is to immediately mute players who start to whine. If you mute them, then they won't be triggering you and they won't be tilting you, and you won't be making decisions based off of the emotions that these people have kind of like given you. Instead, you'll be making them based off of your brain, which is always the best thing to do. Anyway, I think that finally just about does it for this video. This was a lot longer than I thought it would be, but still let me know what you thought about it. I did want it to be quite specific and talk about ways that you could actually really improve and climb these ratings. Like I said, if you did like it, feel free to give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you thought about it down below in the comments. You can find me on Facebook, on Twitter, catch me streaming over at twitch.tv/Foxdrop. All those links are down below in the description, guys. But most importantly, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and I will see you in my next video.